she actually is I don't know what she calls herself. Like she's definitely a Democrat voter, but she has had every reason to not vote for the Democrats or have a problem with Democrats. And every now and then she does have the conversation about Democrats. But she's one of the few people actually having this conversation about what white liberals are doing. And I think this is a story that's in California, how they're trying to lower the education standards, which is not really anything new because that's been occurring in other places across the country, especially, specifically the Democratic led states, though. I want to say either Oregon or Washington lowered the standard or actually removed the taking the bar exam if you want to be an attorney. So they replaced it with something else, though. But they said it was racist. So this is why you just cannot let Democrats lead a state, lead a city, because they'll do these woke things that make your kids dumb. And because they don't want to like push your kids, this puts your kids on a path to where they won't be able to excel. And we know for some kids and certain groups of people, they definitely need different testing standards, they need to, they have difficulty with the testing standards. That's something that the education department is supposed to take care of. The education department is supposed to look over and have a conversation with. But unfortunately, this is kind of the easy way out to get those kids out of the school system and also say, hey, that kid graduated. So people want to have all this smoke for Linda McMahon, but at least she's trying to do something a little bit different. She's trying to hold these schools accountable for the lack of the test for the testing standards we have now, or actually the reading standards that we have right now. Because when you look at those tests, I don't have them pulled up, but look them up if you want to. The people that are going to be at the bottom of that list are going to be kind of the usual suspects. They're going to be talking about Black kids. They're going to be talking about non-Black kids, or really Mexicans from there. They always use those groups to push whatever stupid agenda that they have. And that's not the right thinking right there. That's just telling me that you're looking for like a Band-Aid to fix the problem versus, tackling the problem head on. And some of it is because they don't have a 2-parent household. That's not a problem for your kid to be disruptive. Maybe your kids need to go to one of those special schools because all these other kids, they're trying to learn, but they want your kid to be, they want your smart kid to be dumbed down, bring the bell curve down with some of with these other kids that are not there yet. Like these kids, for whatever reason, don't want to learn, or these kids don't want to, be active when it comes, or they want to take initiative, and the parents don't take initiative as well too. So there's a lot to be discussed here, but before I do, MC, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Linda McMahon because she said one thing that I really respected when she was appointed the education, whatever the role is. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She said that she wanted to do her job so well that her role would become unnecessary. And as a taxpayer looking at the federal government, I think that was a perfect response to something. I know for a fact a lot of people with government jobs, they kind of get in there and they just do the minimal effort and then they kind of get their government pensions and just call it a day. But when you start putting expectations on people on getting work done, then you get what you get. So anyway, in essence, I'm fine with Linda McMahon. I'm fine with eliminating the Department of Education, allocating those resources to the states and letting them manage it. But let's go.
Facts. All right, let's get going.
To quietly implement a new system known as grading for equity, which severely lowers grading standards and will impact approximately 100,000 high school students in the city of San Francisco. Now, Superintendent Maria Sue didn't even bother seeking any approval from the San Francisco Board of Education before moving forward on this, in my opinion, terrible agenda. Now, the Voice of San Francisco, which reported on this story, argues that grading for equity de-emphasizes the importance of timely performance, meaning turning in your assignments on time, completion of assignments, meaning finishing your assignments,
the standard stuff,
and consistent attendance. So those three things are de-emphasized in regard to the final grade students will get. Because, hey, we're grading for equity. let's pause for a second and just acknowledge the fact that what this curriculum messages to the world is we don't think certain students can rise to the occasion. And so
Pretty much. They're talking about black
instead
kids
of
too.
finding ways to solve any issues that are standing in the way of them excelling, rather than doing something about those obstacles, we are going to lower the standards and then pat ourselves on the back with this ridiculous label of equity. This isn't equity,
All right,
students' final semester. This specific curriculum includes, well, grading for equity eliminates homework or weekly tests from being counted in a student's final semester grade. Grades won't be impacted due to late assignments, showing up late to class, or not showing up at all. Only the score on a final exam counts, which, by the way, students can take multiple times.
All right, I'm gonna stop and pause right there. Anything jump out at you as like being weird? See, like
So she said a lot of stuff that was weird to me. So I don't even know where to start. So first of all, let me just say this. If you're black, I don't know how this is not offensive to you. And I've said this before. So if you want to make the argument that history or certain elements of English need some reform, okay, I might be able to inhale a little bit of that. But when you start talking about what I've always appreciated about math and your sciences and your reading, that really doesn't have anything to do with race. It's more so inclined with effort. It correlates to effort. I used to suck at math, but by the time I got to high school, it was my favorite subject because I finally hooked up with the right tutors and I surrounded myself with people that like math. But when I hear stuff like this, the only thing that I'm taking in is we're doing this because we don't think black people are smart enough to keep up with everybody else. Now, that being said, there is a little bit of a decline in math in the United States overall, but it's affecting us the worst.
yeah,
And there's also something else to consider when you look at industries, specifically STEM adjacent industries. You're going to notice a very specific trend on the type of people that are. I'll just say we're importing a lot of people into the United States because we don't have the proper levels of certifications, effort, and intelligence to work in the medical fields, the information technology fields, the cybersecurity fields. Like these
yeah.
are the areas where we're very. There's others too. If
Hey,
you go to the yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick, MC is being nice about. He's talking about the H1 visa bros. Like they are
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
paid. They are getting paid in the city. I have I understand why you need H1B visas, but I think this is also one of those things where it's being abused by companies. But until we can like get enough people to like really compete and make a big stink out of those things, it's just going to keep happening more. And I want to say the most H1B visas that were approved were actually under the. I want to say it was either Biden or Obama, but yeah, that's definitely where it's leading towards too. And most of the Fortune 500 companies are led by people that are not American born. So food for thought there.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. And a lot of the times, a lot of these children, they don't even understand the possibilities of a career, right? Excuse me. So I mentor at a high school sometimes. And we recently had a conversation about ethical hackers. I don't know, Tia, I know you know what an ethical hacker is, but a lot of others don't. There's actually a career where people can actually attempt to hack into other people's systems as like secure and do security screenings and tests. A lot of people don't know things like that exist. Coding is something else that's big. I talk to a lot of kids who game and who like to be online and work with different types of software and platforms. Hey, look at coding. Like, so the information is not there. And then once you get the information, then you got to kind of outline what the requirements are to get there. And
Mhm.
again, it's these subjects that people tend to be scared of. Why are you scared of math? Why are you scared of, physics or chemistry and in areas like that? Why won't you take an engineering class right now in high school and, kind of get the curve started and, to progress to where you want to be? Because engineers, certain type of engineers, there's a shortage too. But for some reason, we have this problem where the kids here are scared of these STEM adjacent subjects. And we got to get them back to caring about this stuff again, and encouraging and letting them grow into it, particularly in our community, because we're still in a space right now where the smart people, and it's turning around. You know, you seeing some more of the sophisticated, intelligent brothers and sisters getting the shine that they should have got years ago, but that wasn't always the case. That wasn't always the case at all.
Honestly, MC, I think it's going to be doom and gloom. Shout out to CGA, because what we're seeing happen right now. So when they lower these testing standards, this is just like a test. I mean, not a test, but this is like the trial run, just like, 2020. This is a trial run. And then they're going to start rolling it out, or some of these states, because again, the education department is trying to, give them a little bit more guidance and make them more accountable, which is excellent. But some of these states, obviously, they're going to try to fight. I mean, they're fighting the Trump administration on deporting people that have, snuck into this country, broken multiple laws, have done heinous things to other humans, and we have these liberals still fighting for them. So yeah, it's going to be a very difficult thing. But if this starts going nationwide, this starts being like a norm for some of these, and it's going to be the blue states that suffer the most. No red state's going to sign off on this. I already know this won't be a thing. But this starts to take off though, and you have like AI just around the corner. I mean, Skynet's already activated. So it's only a matter of time before it goes into like level 2 or level 3. So for the people thinking that, we just got passed through, but they'll figure it out, they're not going to be able to figure it out though, because those jobs won't be there. They're going to have to find a different path. I do like that the Trump administration is taking some of the money. Damn, we should talk about Harvard too. Well, we'll catch that up next week. But is looking to take hundreds of millions of dollars from the Harvard University, because obviously they've done a lot of woke things that have compromised their integrity, and he's looking to move that money to some of these trade schools. And so that might be the better path, but you still got to know how to, like do simple or basic math. You still need to know how to put a sentence together, or sentence structure. Or English. So you still gonna need to know how to do those things. And they're just passing these kids along. And especially when it's your last year, they can just mail it in. I mean, it's just, again, this is terrible news. And on one hand, it's, they're getting rid of some of the bad kids, but those bad kids, are they going to turn out to be doctors down the road? Probably not, because they know that they can just get by with the bare minimum, and they just got to show up for the graduation. So this is, like I said, this is really bad. And when it comes to San Francisco, I'm not surprised, because they test all their agendas out on kids that are not white. They do this because they know a lot of people are not paying attention, but we're paying attention to it. MC?
Yeah, and I think, and I'm gonna redirect this back to, I'm gonna redirect this back to Black folks for a minute, because let's be honest, this is all directed at us. They're trying to make us feel more included. You should be insulted by this. We come from the culture of Carter G. Woodson, Charles Drew, Garrett. I think his name was Garrett Morgan. Yep, I was right, Garrett Morgan. But we come from a culture of inventors and scientists, and essentially people that can take resources and turn it into something productive. We have just as many contributors to American society as any other group of people. And now all of a sudden we act like we're not smart enough to do these same things that we ascended from. This is very offensive to me, and it should be to y'all too. And if it's not, I'd like to have a conversation with you. Right. We can do this. We have the resources to do what everybody else is doing. We just have to shift our culture back to the things that matter.
Can pass with a D.
Actually, let me go back on it.
I think that's 80 for equity system touted by the San Francisco Unified School District and its consultant. A student with a score as low as 80 can attain an A. Oof. And as low as 21% can pass with a D. I think that's crazy.
Do you want somebody? Hold on, pause it real quick. Do you want somebody with a score of 95 or a score of 21 designing your Boeing plane that you're about to jump on for a flight?
Hey, I got
you
one.
Would think that that's the common sense question.
I got one better for you. if you want somebody that's in the 80, around the 80 range, or the 95 range when it comes to just piloting that airplane, it's all bad. It's just This is just terrible. And one of the jobs that has a shortage is air traffic, well, pilots, and then air traffic controllers. Those jobs pay six figs, and I don't think you have to go to college to be an air traffic controller. And probably the same thing with being a pilot, you just need flight time and all that. But yeah, those are two areas that definitely need a demand. They lack a shortage in, like, other, straight white men, essentially, because a lot of them gravitate towards that will do it. And I'm not saying it's an easy job, though, because we've seen some difficult stories that have come about when you don't have the right people in place. But I don't know why schools are not promoting that. I don't know why schools are, they don't have like kind of a program where they can introduce kids to a pilot program or some type of flight program or something close to that. There's a lot of jobs out there that you wouldn't believe that just pay a lot. And like I said earlier, with AI is going to remove a lot of these customer service jobs. The people that tend to do the customer service jobs are generally women. So this is a problem for men and women, but the women are going to be hurt the most, though, because we saw what happened with Trump removing a lot of these government jobs. The government's still running fine and efficient. Yeah, there were some rough patches at the beginning, but no one ever talks about it no more. They fired all those IRS agents. So, and I don't think it's more to do because of AI, though. I think it's definitely because of what happened with Doge. But I mean, essentially, they're going to become more efficient. And if Doge continues to, still be part of the help with the Trump administration, it's going to find more inefficiencies, and maybe it'll look to AI to continue to, make things faster, do things faster. Response time is faster. AI is starting to become slowly part of, like, everyday life, though. It's on your phone. It's on your, when it comes to suggestions, what TV shows you should watch, or with YouTube suggestions. Like, it's moving really fast, and the people that are not paying attention, they're going to get hit by it. They're going to get hit by a bus, and they're going to be like, well, where all the jobs go? Well, you went for some of these jobs that just really aren't jobs that will be around in 10 years. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate. And the grading standards, that doesn't help you. That's just terrible for you. And not to mention, if people start finding out, like, some of these schools are, reducing the education range, or the score range, they're gonna hold that against you. Like, oh, you went to one of those San Francisco schools. All right, well, I can tell that you're probably not a smart person, or maybe you have some difficulty learning, and then you're gonna start feeling some type of way. So yeah, that's bad for all those people.
Yeah. Yeah, and just a quick shout out, because we often talk about, well, we don't have the resources they have. I just want to call out Tuskegee University, which is an HBCU. That's one of the best aviation programs in the country. I would put that next to a lot of different aviation countries, and I'm just using that because that's what we were talking about in the example that you gave. So we have these resources and we have the knowledge. We just gotta focus and shift our culture. I'm gonna keep saying that until it starts to stick with people.
Great.
His name is Joe Feldman, the consultant. He wrote in 2019 that in Placer County, another jurisdiction.
Yeah, 2019. This is how long they've been working on this. 2019. And it might have been earlier than that. This is just what they pulled.
With the grading system, students who did not qualify for free or reduced price lunch had a sharper decrease in A's, reflecting how traditional grading practices disproportionately benefit students with resources because of the inequitable inclusion of extra credit and other resource-dependent grading criteria. What?
A lot of words out there.
That statement made no sense. Okay, so if your argument is students who don't qualify for free or reduced price lunch tend to come from affluent families,
I'm gonna go back here. So I think this story came from a Harvard conversation, and so Harvard just taking massive L's this week. So I don't know if this guy is a Harvard grad, but I think they covered the story. Actually, he might be. They have a little watermark there. But this is what the white saviors do. They put these programs in place. They say that they're helping certain communities, and are really targeting communities. And this is how they get a lot of their grant money. They just had a professor at Harvard that was fired because she fabricated data. I don't know what it was referring to, but she just got fired. She was making a salary over $1 million. So the people telling you that your kids are dumb and we need to reduce the grade standards are the ones just getting a bag off of you. So much money has been made off of the backs of Black kids just by saying, hey, because of racism, please give me this type of money so I can help these kids, think better or listen better. And I'm surprised the teachers union hasn't even said anything. This is a slap in their face too. So there's a lot of people that are sitting on their hands, not saying anything. And these teachers, I get told all the time, the teachers care about the kids. Is this caring about the kids? Because she said earlier that they just pushed this program through without even talking to like some of I guess the teachers union or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, they may have pushed it through though. How come you guys aren't talking about it? How come you guys aren't out protesting like these are Tesla dealerships? You can't find any of these people anywhere. All they know how to do is race hustle off of the backs of Black people, specifically Black kids, because that's how you get all this grant money. That's why Harvard's upset that they're losing a lot of their grant money, because most of it is just scam stuff. Like Harvard might do some efficient, they will do tests. I don't want to say it's a complete sham of a program, but they don't do it 100% of the time. They're doing tests that do not benefit the American population. What they're doing is creating these scam opportunities to say like, hey, this is because this is at Harvard or this was discussed at a high level school. We are going to make this a norm by pushing this out to some of these urban schools, because they can do this in white schools. The white people would have been like, no, we ain't doing that. Take those programs down the street. That ain't gonna happen at our school. So again, and I think we're done with this person, but that's the thing, that they do all this stuff just to promote whatever deal that they're getting. Who knows how much money he's getting? Like, people need to start looking at their salaries and start looking at how long they've been in this position or this role, and saying like, well, why are you going after like Black kids or Mexican kids or brown kids or whatever? Like, why aren't you going after why aren't you going out some of these affluent neighborhoods? How come you're not having that conversation there? Or they test a little bit better. Why are they testing a little bit better? Like, let's have that conversation. And we probably know the answer why they're testing.
That's the better conversation. Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. They would never dare to do any of that stuff because they know they would get ran out.
Yeah, we asked the wrong questions. I want to backtrack real quick, and I'm gonna defend teachers real quick because I've seen from the inside. First of all, there are a lot of trash teachers. Let's start there, but there's some excellent ones too.
Sure.
And when I say excellent, teachers are fighting a lot of battles right now. I don't think people realize how much money that teachers pay out of their own pockets to get supplies to their kids. I'm married to a teacher, and I can tell you, I've written many a checks to fund my wife's students. Now, I don't understand that all teachers don't have a husband who can provide the way that I can for my wife. So I'm gonna talk my ish a little bit. But teachers are fighting a lot of battles. They got union battles. A lot of them are getting kids that are not being properly parented. So now you got to be a parent. You got to be a referee to break up a fight. You got to be a moderator for a debate. You got to be law enforcement. You got to be up to date with all your certifications and training. You got long hours. You got teachers have fighting a lot of different battles. And that's probably why it's best they have the schedule that they have. So I just wanted to call back and call that out. Now, that being said, these failures in the education system start with the family. If your child, unless they've got some kind of mental disability, some intellectual disability, if your child is failing, it's because you're not doing your job as a parent. It has nothing to do with anybody else but what's going on in your house. What's that joke that Chris Rock said? If the kid can't read, it's mama's fault. But if the kid can't read because ain't no lights on, it's daddy's fault.
Yeah.
That's the logic right there.
Yeah. Yeah. People got to pay attention to this stuff. And so I don't see a lot of people really covering this story on how the liberals are trying to get another bag off of Black kids. But it's a conversation that needs to be discussed out loud. And it primarily comes from the Democratic Party. So whether people want to believe the Democrats are for them, just look at what they do. Look at the studies that they commission. Look at some of the grant money that they're getting. It's all to not help you. It's all just to study you and figure out how to prolong that study. That's all it is. So that's all it's ever been, honestly. So, all right, we're going to jump.